Evidence secured at marker 4. Advise command we are holding the scene.
Copy that. It's getting heavier out here.
Some puzzling new developments tonight in the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie.
Agents chose one specific word on purpose. Not asked, not contacted. Someone got hired. Federal law enforcement strictly avoids reckless language during complex abduction investigations. Mentioning the word hired means they know exactly what happened behind closed doors. Agents outlined a calculated transaction. A desperate buyer paid for critical surveillance they could never acquire on their own. A willing seller ultimately provided it. Cash traded hands for private intelligence so deeply specific and fiercely intimate that investigators know the source originated from one undeniable location. Someone trusted completely inside her own home. Nancy Guthrie vanished without a trace 44 days ago. She is 84 years old. She desperately requires daily heart medication simply to survive. Authorities currently hold zero confirmed proof of life. Detectives found nothing across every single day of this manhunt. Kidnappers mailed ransom demands directly to local newsrooms instead of her relatives. Both deadlines expired in absolute silence. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos appeared on national television recently. He stated directly that investigators believe someone carefully orchestrated this exact crime. Criminals deliberately targeted Nancy's residence using blueprints built entirely on purchased inside intelligence. Now, federal agents actively seek neighborhood security camera footage from two highly specific January dates, January 11th and January 24th, weeks before Nancy vanished. Consider the terrifying implication. Authorities stopped hunting solely for the kidnapper. Detectives now pursue whoever stalked her property, cased her residence, and studied her movements. Officials launched a dedicated task force. 5 Pima County sheriff deputies and multiple federal agents work this case full-time. This investigation refuses to slow down. It is narrowing. Tonight we examine one heavily documented connection orbiting this exact case. A solid link built entirely upon public records and fully verified relationships. We found a criminal history sitting inside Arizona court systems that mainstream media analysts completely failed to investigate properly. His name is Dominic Aaron Evans. He is 48 years old. He teaches 5th grade inside Tucson, Arizona. He co-founded a local band named Early Black. He built that music group alongside Nancy Guthrie's own son-in-law, Tommaso Chioni, starting back in 2007. Arizona Pima County court documents, highlighted by the investigative account JLR Investigates on X, reveal a rap sheet featuring felony burglary, robbery, theft, embezzlement, and drunk driving. Evans already sat down with investigators. He personally confirmed to the New York Times that he spent 40 minutes interviewing with the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department. He claimed he remained home with his family the night Nancy vanished. Detectives never contacted him again afterward. Authorities never officially designated him as a criminal suspect. Zero law enforcement agencies ever accused him of committing any crimes regarding this abduction. The sheriff officially cleared the entire Guthrie family, which obviously includes Tommaso Chioni himself. We are doing something completely different tonight. We will place documented facts sequentially in plain sight, forcing the exact jarring questions that this specific evidence ultimately demands we ask. Stay close. Every single detail you hear next relies on fully verifiable proof. By the time this finishes, you will realize exactly why his name belongs firmly inside this intense conversation. Agents started investigating the weeks preceding the abduction, which changes absolutely everything. Let us begin. This crucial detail dropped recently, permanently reframing the entire crime scene. The FBI formally requested that neighbors surrounding Nancy Guthrie's Catalina Foothills property submit their security camera footage from January 11th and also from January 24th. Both dates occurred weeks before she disappeared on February 1st. Investigators never publicly explained why those specific dates matter. They never have to. The implication writes itself. Someone arrived early, someone watched her, actively learning the neighborhood. They clocked routines. They figured out which cameras contained blind spots when Nancy sat home alone, and exactly what her property looked like from the dark street. That requires no impulse. That is reconnaissance. Total preparation for a crime meticulously designed, never randomly discovered. This perfectly aligns with what Sheriff Nanos stated right from the very beginning. We believe we know why he did this, and we firmly believe it was targeted. Former FBI and CIA officer Tracy Walder phrased it even more plainly on camera. This is never a house you just stumble upon and decide to rob. It never happens. So ask the real question. Who told him which house? Catalina Foothills is a massive, sprawling residential area. Winding streets hold hundreds of houses, where many elderly residents live completely alone. Criminals seeking a target never randomly settle upon one exact house on one specific street. They never magically decide that this one particular 84-year-old woman, the mother-in-law of a science teacher, justifies a weeks-long surveillance operation. Unless an insider told you why. Unless someone explained who she was, what her household looked like whenever she sat completely vulnerable, what angles the cameras covered, and what those lenses missed. The FBI describes this exact transaction. Someone ultimately accepted cash for that knowledge. Intelligence that's specific, deeply layered, and flawlessly accurate never originates from a random stranger. They completely cleared him. Yet the final face she ever saw hides the ultimate secret. 50-year-old Italian native Tommaso Chioni called Tucson home for years. He taught science and married Nancy's oldest daughter, Nancy Guthrie. Nancy ate dinner at their house on January 31st. Tommaso joined the family car ride that eventually dropped her off at exactly 9:48 that night. He likely stood as the final person to see her alive before she vanished. Journalist Ashley Banfield named him a potential prime suspect early in the investigation.
There is some connection to Annie Guthrie's car and Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. That would be Annie's husband, Tommaso Chioni, age 50, from Tucson, Arizona, married to Annie P. Guthrie, Savannah's sister. And my law enforcement source tells me that Tommaso Chioni is the prime suspect in this case. Again, law enforcement source tells me that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, is maybe a prime suspect in this case.
Sheriff Nanos fiercely rejected that theory. He released a formal public statement on February 16th. Nanos immediately declared every single Guthrie family member, including all siblings and spouses, fully cleared as suspects. He highly praised their total cooperation and exceptionally gracious behavior throughout the investigation. Detectives found zero criminal records or verified motives. Investigators completely debunked those viral gambling debt rumors as entirely baseless. Legal professionals also examined the widely circulated power of attorney document and officially dismissed it as standard operating procedure. But who did it? The real threat lurked elsewhere. Stop right here. Pay attention. Public suspicion heavily surrounding Tommaso makes total, logical sense. He watched Nancy walk away last. That close family tie absolutely exists. Those surface-level questions seem perfectly logical, but everyone stared at the wrong dimension entirely, while the actual, more revealing truth hid right next door. Did Tommaso act directly? No. Who inhabited Tommaso's personal orbit? Who stuck around long enough to truly learn his darkest secrets? Who inside his inner circle carries a documented criminal history perfectly matching the current FBI profile? One specific person fits perfectly. Tommaso co-founded a band called Early Black in Tucson, Arizona. Back in April 2007, this wasn't some weekend garage hobby or a brief fling. Early Black produced recorded music, built a documented legacy, and kept its core members. They stayed connected across 2 decades. Dominic Aaron Evans played drums from day one. He helped found the group and shape their story. Most people vastly underestimate what a 17-year bandmate dynamic actually entails. You constantly practice inside each other's houses. You hit the road together. You divide cash, secure gigs, and deeply navigate the daily grind of a shared artistic vision. That demands relentless communication across countless years. You get to know their partners. You interact with their families. You naturally absorb incredibly intimate details about their personal life. You never snooped or dug for hidden clues. You just existed nearby, holding their trust, walking through their front door time and again. Evans confirmed to the New York Times he discovered Nancy's sudden disappearance through Instagram. He immediately messaged Tommaso directly to offer his full support. He also claimed he met Nancy just once in 2011. He firmly established that fact himself. He never claimed any close personal bond with Nancy. He instead held a tight 17-year relationship with her son-in-law. The FBI informant profile matches that exact connection flawlessly. The suspect clearly knew Tommaso intimately, rather than knowing Nancy directly. Through Tommaso, he learned the household's deepest secrets. What did he do next? He broke laws. Listen to what those Pima County records reveal. JLR investigates publicly cited official Arizona Pima County court documents directly on X. These public system records expose felony charges against Evans, including felony burglary, robbery, theft, embezzlement, and DUI. Multiple major news outlets trace these exact reports directly back to Pima County files. Law enforcement never issued a direct statement independently confirming them, and that distinction truly matters. We are analyzing public court records, not official police accusations regarding this specific crime. Keep that strict precision on the table. Let us deeply break down these actual charges. Arizona explicitly defines felony burglary as unlawfully entering a structure while intending to commit a crime inside. First-degree residential burglary ranks as a Class 2 felony. Arizona Criminal Code classifies this as the absolute most severe property offense. Anyone facing this charge possesses a heavily documented history of calculated operational choices. They figured out exactly how to breach forbidden structures, determined the exact timing, and seamlessly navigated the space silently. This is never abstract. This individual actually executed these specific actions. Robbery operates entirely differently than burglary. Robbery requires direct, forceful contact. You strip property from a victim using physical power or extreme threats, igniting a confrontation. An offender looks another human being dead in the eye and forcefully steals their belongings anyway. Theft covers multiple incidents and types. No single bad night. A factual timeline emerges. We acknowledge the DUI conviction for total accuracy. But the final charge stopped me completely cold while unraveling this tangled thread. Embezzlement. I need to be brutally precise right now. This specific crime fundamentally matters more than anything else regarding the core of this ongoing investigation. You cannot embezzle from a victim who never trusted you. Imagine a crime built entirely on betraying absolute trust. Embezzlement demands legitimate access to cash and accounts, operating inside a system handed over because somebody actually believed in you and granted you responsibility. Then comes the choice to take that exact trust and quietly weaponize it into personal financial gain. Trusted access exploited for cash. I want you to really hear that. Trusted access exploited for cash. Now rewind to the FBI statement. Someone got hired to supply inside intelligence. A person holding access, trusted, and paid. The architecture matches perfectly. The mechanism stays identical. The motive mirrors itself. One version of this pattern lands right in Pima County court records as an active embezzlement conviction. The second version, driving this exact investigation, ends facing a charge they have not actually filed yet. Who drops first? Now, I am not stating those two specific paths connect. I am telling you they outline the exact same decision executed by the exact same profile. And you cannot erase that overlap just because looking at it feels deeply uncomfortable. Dominic Evans went on the record with the New York Times late this February. He spoke clearly hurting. People relentlessly harassed his family. Internet detectives literally materialized right outside his Tucson house. He and his wife Andrea, who works as a school principal, huddled in their dark bedroom while strangers loitered right outside on their street. I feel like someone has taken my name, he confessed to the Times. And then I do not know monetary clickbait to be relevant entertainment, but innocent people get hurt. He is absolutely correct. He is completely right regarding the damage that inflicts. Sheriff Nanos supported him without hesitation. He is going through hell, and it is horrible. The sheriff advised the Times that Evans should probably consult attorneys regarding suing individuals for libel. My video does not contribute to that harassment. I am not accusing Dominic Evans of kidnapping Nancy Guthrie. I am not accusing him of feeding intelligence to anyone. He explicitly told investigators he stayed home with family. He cooperated entirely voluntarily. Police have not contacted him since, but one stubborn fact remains, regardless of how carefully you try framing it. The FBI confirms somebody possessing trusted inside access took payouts to supply household intelligence. Inside Tommaso Chion's documented universe, the single person holding the absolute deepest, most embedded access to his personal life happens to be a man whose public court records display a crime requiring physical entry into a structure alongside a crime defined totally by exploiting trusted financial access. Right inside Pima County, within that exact city, spanning 17 years, that precise pattern lives inside the public record. This exists whether or not Dominic Evans holds any connection to this crime. A pattern this highly specific, sitting directly beside an active federal investigation, running a full-time dedicated task force, absolutely demands a proper hard look, not handled by random internet strangers awkwardly lingering outside somebody's house. It requires formal investigators inside a room on the record. Evans stated he spoke with them 40 minutes. Detectives asked about the band, their friendship, and his whereabouts. He has heard absolutely nothing from them since. What I am placing on the record right now is not whether police interviewed him. They did. The real question asks whether 40 minutes covering a band, a friendship, and an alibi provides the right proportion of scrutiny, considering the highly specific overlap between his documented criminal profile and the FBI's stated informant framework. Why? I almost cut this completely because I know exactly how it sounds out of context. Early Black, the band Tommaso Chioni and Dominic Evans, built together back in 2007 and maintained for nearly 2 decades, dropped an album. They assigned it a title, not some working draft, not a temporary placeholder, a deliberately chosen name printed onto the actual record sleeve. They titled it Life, Love, Love, Murder. Look, music naturally explores darkness. Nick Cave wrote murder ballads throughout his entire career. Tom Waits crafted entire albums focused on violence and deep desperation. An album title featuring the word murder provides zero evidence of anything sitting entirely alone. However, we are not sitting alone here. We currently stand inside a case where an 84-year-old woman has been missing for 44 consecutive days, where the FBI explicitly states the crime was planned, where the person most connected to this investigation co-founded a band using that exact title, where his co-founding bandmate of 17 years carries a criminal record featuring both felony burglary and embezzlement. Viewed inside that complete picture, not some isolated separate vacuum, but planted right here, that specific album title is not something you casually encounter and move past. It fails to answer anything, but it undoubtedly asks something huge. What were these two men communicating through their music long before anyone demanded they answer in another language? The clock ran completely out. Saturday night arrived. She finished dinner with her Hamu family, then caught an Uber home, her garage door securely closed at 9:50 p.m. She was safely inside. She remained alive. At 1:47 a.m., her doorbell camera got physically disconnected. At 2:12 a.m., a motion sensor triggered somewhere on the property. A digital log captured her disappearance. At 2:28 in the morning, the pacemaker stopped syncing. 41 minutes later, blood stained the entrance. Attackers spilled her blood before moving her. Strangely, subsequent ransom demands bypassed relatives, landing directly inside newsrooms. Federal agent Heath Yanka publicly declared a standard abduction yields rapid communication, yet both deadlines expired in utter silence. Who called next? Nobody. Detectives received no third note, witnessed zero escalation, and secured no proof of life. Former federal behavioral profiler Jim Clemente noted an anomaly. The 40-minute gap outside her residence completely contradicts professional abduction models. Was it simple theft? Former federal agent Greg Rogers told Parade magazine he completely rejects the botched robbery theory. Former Nassau County Police Lieutenant Michael Selt Gould evaluated NY's age and cardiac medication dependency alongside the physical trauma on site. He concluded she likely perished within 72 hours of vanishing. What surfaced next? DNA. On February 4th, 5 days before the deadline expired, detectives extracted mixed genetic material from NY's home. A private Florida laboratory continues processing this multi-person profile. Meanwhile, federal investigators extracted unreleased camera images directly from her estate. Detectives are analyzing surrounding neighborhood surveillance videos captured on January 11th and January 24th. An exclusive task force investigates these leads around the clock. This case never went cold. The suspect pool is shrinking. Toward whom? Enter Dominic Aaron Evans. This 48-year-old fifth-grade educator spent 17 years playing music alongside Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. County records reveal felony burglary, robbery, theft, embezzlement, and drunk driving convictions. Detectives conducted one 40-minute interview. Complete silence followed. We aren't labeling him the perpetrator. We are highlighting a verified pattern and questioning if authorities scrutinized it using required federal informant protocols. Did they miss something? Everything. Nancy Guthrie was a mother and grandmother. This woman of faith shared Saturday dinner with relatives, yet vanished completely before Sunday morning church. She lived fully. An incident occurred on her front porch, and the culprits have executed a deliberate cover-up to bury the evidence. Will they succeed? Not if you speak up. She deserves justice. If you recognize a suspicious vehicle, strange conversation, distinct face, or hold withheld details, call the active tip line immediately. 1-800-CALL-FBI. $1 million payable anonymously. Every crime scene establishes a boundary. Hovering just outside the perimeter of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, certain individuals hold direct knowledge they refuse to share.